I think when it came to building that proper, ecosystem over time, we wanted to make sure that creators, through the use of what we call social tokens or creator tokens, would have all that power to capture the value they create. And whatever that social token gets you or is used for or anything like that is up to the creator. And so it's really allowing them to create that direct consumer relationship for that value to be captured versus being reliant on a centralized entity who has its own agenda to maximize for them to pay you out. It's like the idea of a complete redistribution of the way in which funds flow through this ecosystem.
That's dope.
This podcast is sponsored by Mercury and Vauld. Please stay tuned for more information on both of these amazing companies later in the episode. There are endless ways for creators to monetize their content and to monetize their contracts and things like that, but they're all in Web 2, where there's a third-party toll collector in the middle, and they can't keep all of the money that they've created, all the value they've created, but that's changing. Solo and Spencer from Calaxy have created a new economy where creators can monetize and keep all of the money and the benefit and value from what they are creating. You guys don't want to miss this. It's an incredible conversation. Oh, you got the Crypto Dad hat.
Yeah, he just gave it to me while I was walking through the hall. So
yeah, I like that. Yeah. I like that. I'm an actual Crypto Dad.
Me too.
Okay.
I got a 4-year-old.
Yeah. Oh, 4?
4.
My kids are 7 and 3. Challenging.
Yeah.
How? I mean.
Definitely. No, it is. He thinks he runs everything.
And he does.
Yeah, pretty much.
I wonder where he gets that from.
Oh, stop.
You guys are old friends, right?
Yeah.
You talking about us?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you can make remarks like that at him and not get.
No, and I won't jab him.
So listen, you were the first athlete ever to basically fractionalize the contract.
Yeah.
Why?
Are we starting for real?
Yeah, we're going.
Oh, we're rolling.
Rolling.
Your kids are now.
Oh, my kids are in
it's
it.
in
Oh,
it.
well,
Wait, you guys started?
It's kid.
We just minted his kid an NFT
kid.
right here.
This is not financial advice.
I say kids, and everybody gonna go, what? He's got a child.
What did you
Yeah,
do
no,
in
no, no.
1998? No, you were the first athlete to fractionalize your contract effectively. Why did you decide to do that?
So pretty much at the time, like I got into crypto like 2017 or so. I rode the rise and fall, and to keep a long story short, it sparked a education curve into the blockchain crypto space, and then merging something that I was just learning about with is something that I know a ton about, which is the entertainment industry, how to kind of democratize sports contracts, better involve the fan, get them closer to what they want, which is the player and those experiences. And I felt like the contract was a way to one of the best ways to do that with the rise in sports gambling as well. And so I did that. I ended up fighting with the league. The product changed probably 5 different times, and I was able to kind of release a bond-like structure that actually, I think it ends actually next July. It's still going on right now.
Were you concerned at any point that making that decision, going to battle with the league, was going to actually affect your career?
To a degree, but I definitely, going into it, I told everybody around me, like, hey, like, we'll only fight this to a point.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if this ever becomes a choose basketball or choose your concept, well, then we're choosing basketball. Like, I just signed my second deal at the time, but I knew I still probably had a third and fourth deal as well, and obviously I played basketball since I was 4 years old, so I wasn't going to sacrifice that. But we fought to a degree. They told me at one point in time they were going to kick me out the league because I was gambling and doing something illegal, and so we had to get some PR behind that and go back and forth with them. But at the end of the day, we settled on a product that they were cool with, and I ended up launching that, and it kind of spearheaded the movement into Calaxy and social tokens, and working with Solo, who obviously was at Citi Bank at the time and now is the CEO of our company. I mean, it's been a whirlwind for the last 5 years, but it's been the most fun time of my life.
Man, you left a comfortable job at Citi Bank to do this?
Yeah, I did.
One of the wild ones who was like, I had this really nice job. It was benefits, and let's do crypto.
I mean, I think when you think about it, for us, it really had to do with the idea of like doing things that you were passionate about. And I think for me, it just came from a supreme understanding about the premise of why blockchain exists, and then also like the applications of what we were trying to build, right? So like with this contract securitization, unlocking trapped liquidity in something that's like a traditional asset is something that Wall Street hasn't been able to figure out. Like, people have been trying to securitize LeBron James for 10 years. Like, that's something that people have been talking about since the day I got there. So being a specialized person, I saw blockchain, and he had brought it to me at that point in time as the most practical way to do that. And so when it came to me, like, being able to understand that completely and like actually have that use case come up, the idea of leaving became, a lot more enticing. And starting to do things that you actually care about, merging things like the entertainment industry and blockchain, and just doing things that are entrepreneurial or something that I've always, been interested in. So.
Were you already in Bitcoin, crypto, or at least superficially interested in it? Or
he was talking about crypto in like 2019.
Yeah.
Like he was really you got to take into account, like I had a Wharton education at the time, went and worked at an investment banking, in an investment banking program at Bulge Bracket Bank. Like to turn around and just like, yeah, you know what? I don't think the banking structure or the banking system as structured makes sense. That's a wild thing to say. It was wild to my African parents, and it was even more wild to like my managing directors at the time. But I think it just came from like having like very, substantive conversations about the applications of it.
I graduated from Penn 23 years ago, and all my friends who went down that Wall Street path, most of them I still can't get to buy Bitcoin. And it's what I've been doing passionately for 5 or 6 years. So I think that making that transition, that jump, and the longer you sort of are in the legacy mentality, the harder it is to escape and do that. But to talk about what you guys are actually doing with Calaxy. Conceptually obviously makes sense, but what is the ethos of it? What are you trying to provide to the creator? What are you trying to provide to the enthusiast?
Yeah, so I guess I'll speak to the ethos and then let him dive into the weeds. But like I said, it was sitting at the intersection of the entertainment industry and blockchain. I went through the securities process on that side, and then figured out that was pretty cumbersome, and that most people weren't going to have 30, 60, $100 million contracts to be able to put on the blockchain, but they still had all this utility value in terms of experiences, right? And we see that kind of with the cameos and the OnlyFans, and people just trying to stay at home, sell whatever talent, they have that's unique to them, monetize that, and create a future, right, throughout just talent and being at home. So that was the ethos, and being creator focused, creator first in our modeling. So we created a business model that we felt like was more enticing to the creator than the more top-down structures like the YouTubes and, like I said, the cameras and all that. So doing that part, and then we just wanted to make sure that the user experience was familiar, because we knew with Web3 you have the 12 key passphrases, you have, you got to write down your password in a piece of paper and throw it in the ocean so nobody can catch it.
And pray.
Yeah, and pray, right? That a shark doesn't hack your account, But yeah, so that was just kind of what we wanted to do, right? Kind of be Web 2.5 in a sense, have a familiar user experience, be creator focused at its core. Yeah. And then as we get into the weeds, like I said, he's running the day-to-day doing all the minutia.
Right, but you talk about YouTube and OnlyFans and Cameo and all of these, and it's amazing that a creator is able to monetize, but you're still paying that toll collector.
Yeah, I think it's just, when you think about the entertainment industry at large, it's like the cartel with how it functions. Like even as an NBA player and all the value that they create for around the sport of basketball, like NBA players are paid well. Yeah, great. But like they create so much value, and I think that exists across all different types or different parts or segments of the entertainment industry. And so what we came to build is something like, allowing these creators to take some of that ownership back into their own hands and enable them with the proper community building tools to do so. And so like NFTs were very popular. That was kind of the creator economy-esque angle to Web3. It's funny, we were just talking about it a couple, minutes ago. It's like the premise of blockchain or the promise of blockchain rather wasn't super appealing to me based off of the idea of NFTs. That wasn't a thing back then.
Right. Like
it was the other applications of blockchain and like everything being a chip on the table and increased liquidity and frictionless payments and borders was the main, what excited us at the time. And so I think when it came to building that proper, ecosystem over time, we wanted to make sure that creators, through the use of what we call social tokens or creator tokens, would have all that power to capture the value they create. And whatever that social token gets you or is used for or anything like that is up to the creator. And so it's really allowing them to create that direct consumer relationship for that value to be captured versus being reliant on a centralized entity who has its own agenda to maximize for them to pay you out. It's like the idea of a complete redistribution of the way in which funds flow through this ecosystem.
It's pretty crazy. I've done some digging into it, obviously. You can do a video call with your favorite celebrity. Yeah. That's crazy. People kill for that. right?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I think that's only one of the things. I think in our model, there's also custom bespoke services, right? Like there's going to be, maybe you could have a little training session with me or, something of that nature. If it's a chef, maybe they show you how to cook something. I'm just saying, like we
no financial advice.
No financial advice. But in general, we just wanted it to be as open as possible and provide as much utility for that community building type of style. And we feel like social tokens not only help you interact with your community, but help kind of like organize and motivate's probably not but mobilize. There you go. Yeah, mobilize your community. Thank you, man.
Yeah. There was a book, I can't remember the name of it, but it was basically about this conceptually, but with previous social media. And it basically said if you, as a creator, can gather 1,000 super fans, you basically become a millionaire and have an 200%. Entire career just based on 1,000 people who are passionate about what you build. So you don't have to be an NBA basketball player. You can literally just be a guy who makes music in about this one town, and this many people love it, and you can literally make a lifelong career on that.
It's 100% the case, because I think what it allows a revolution for people that are going to make their primary means of income off the internet. It gives them the proper tools to do so, right? Like if you think about all the content creators out there, like, there's a difference between like a content creator and an influencer, right? Like he's an influencer. He's not a content creator. He's not making YouTube videos. He's not making vlogs or anything like that. He's an influencer, a person of influence, right? And obviously he plays in the NBA, but not all segments of the entertainment industry get paid like NBA players. So you think about the YouTubers that, have trouble paying their rent at the end of the month, even though they influence, 100,000 people. Well, I can tell you from my traditional finance background, there are people that influence maybe 5 people in the world that are millionaires, right? Like if you have that much influence, like the fact that you're only making a certain amount of money, it's completely warped and skewed in favor of the platforms. And so what we wanted to do is build not only the tools, like giving them the social tokens, but on top of it, an application layer. That video call experience that you're talking about, that gives that utility so that somebody that's not deep into the space of blockchain needs to go out and, figure out what a social token is, or like the way in which they can integrate it into some web service or application or whatever that they would have to build on their own.
And to that point, I mean, we actually hear about it. They teach us in kind of some of those MBPA calls and business stuff, like back when I was doing RTP, Rookie Transition Program, that you could convert 1% to 2% of your followers to buyers, but they were talking about more in a traditional e-commerce type of fashion, right?
Jerseys.
Exactly, jerseys, shoes, what I'm saying? I had my own shoe at one point in time, and so that was kind of the method that we went with. But remember, I have 300,000 followers, let's say, on Instagram, right? But now the product that I'm selling is $2 instead of $100. Now that conversion rate goes a little bit higher, and as you go more to the masses, and even if it's like, hey, like, for $1, I'll follow you. But if all 300,000 people want me to follow them, and I click a button and I start following these 300,000 people, I get $300,000 for it, right? Like for a lot of people, that value proposition is there. Like most people would do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think you'd rather also have a smaller amount from a larger amount of people, because that larger amount of people will continue to grow and then eventually have the money to buy the more expensive things that you offer as well.
Ready to scale your big idea? Business banking with Mercury makes it easy. In addition to FDIC-insured bank accounts, unlimited virtual cards, foreign currency exchange, and free wire transfers, Mercury offers custom team management features that complement your company's growth. What's more, Mercury offers additional financing options like venture debt, depositing founder-friendly loans directly into your Mercury account. It's time to take your company to the next level. Head to thewolfofallstreets.info/Mercury. That is thewolfofallstreets.info/Mercury for better business banking in minutes. Mercury is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided by Choice Financial Group and Evolve Bank and Trust, members FDIC. Guys, I have a serious question for you. How much interest are you earning in your bank account? Is it 0.00001% or something similar? We all know by now that there's a better way in crypto, but you want to be using the best platform possible, and that is Vauld. I have been using it myself now for quite a while, earning the highest interest rates in the industry. 12.68% on stablecoins, 6.7% on ETH and Bitcoin, and earning yield on a ton of other assets. But it's so much more than that, guys. They have a robust exchange. You can swap your coins, and they have the amazing automatic investment plan where you can dollar cost average, or more importantly, buy the dip automatically. We know that when the dip actually comes, nobody buys it because they're scared. Well, you can automate that process now with Vauld. Guys, this platform is absolutely incredible. It does everything. They're backed by Pantera and Coinbase Ventures. You really can't ask for anything more. And if you use the link right down below, you get a 40% kickback on trading fees, 5% commission on interest payouts, and 5% commission on loan interest. Guys, sign up right now at thewolfofallstreets.info/Vauld. That's VAULD. Do it now, seriously.
In that sort of rookie transition program, do they ever mention crypto, or do you think that they ever will?
No. I got in the league 8 years ago.
But do you think that they ever will? Do you think it'll become like, I know they bring in the financial
yeah.
advisors, they tell you guys like how to handle and be responsible, right?
Oh, yeah. I would assume in the last couple of years they probably mentioned it. I'm pretty removed from it, so I don't know. But 8 years ago, no, of course
I
not.
wonder what they're saying.
2014? No, there's no chance they were talking.
I wonder what they're saying.
2014, you would have brought it up and got fired.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like 2019.
Now,
Cryptos, be wary. 2020 comes around. Still be wary. 2021. Have y'all heard about Top Shot?
I think that all happened last year, and it's crazy that for NFTs, it really was Top Shot. Everybody talks about Bored Apes and all these PFPs and stuff, but it was all Top Shot.
Well, that to that point as well, Top Shot is what allowed the conversation, I think, to not be taboo in NBA locker rooms. Because when I was speaking about it in like 2017, 2018, things like that, they looked at me like I was nuts. They were like, bro, shut up, you're gonna lose all your money. Like,
he's crazy.
Weird dude, you crazy, all that other stuff. I think once Top Shot came out and they saw the league was partnering with, a crypto company and not just accepting like the naming rights for a stadium, right? But they were actually like building product in crypto. Then everybody started saying, okay, what is this? Like, how can we get involved? Let's talk about it, all that stuff. So it really sparked a conversation because I think their comfort level went so much higher by seeing that.
Yeah, it was really the perfect transition, I think, especially for athletes. But then you saw like every athlete and celebrity in the world, there was this sort of bubble period where it was like, we just got to make an NFT, man, and they all flopped.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
I mean, there was the make NFT a water bottle craze. Like, everybody it was a euphoric, and that happens with new markets all the time where you have like everybody, rushing to a market, and because some of these are the first NFTs, publicly available or known about, they have some sort of value, right? You could argue that the fourth NFT ever created could have been a picture of a shoe, but it was still the fourth NFT created, depending on how you justify the value. But over time, the ways in which creators or people or minters of NFTs justified value started to kind of dissipate because it was cash grabby. Like, people were just trying to do it for the sake of doing it.
Scarcity is great, but you still need demand.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I've got a one-of-one piece of lint from the floor. It's cool. I got the only one, but if nobody wants it, it doesn't really matter. But I think that like that sort of bubble popping was a necessity for companies like you to build, right?
Sure.
Yeah, you couldn't have built this while that was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, to your point, right? Like, as long as people looked at athletes or influencers or whatever as cash grabby or potential scam artists, then it makes it a lot harder for the true builders. I think, to your point with the bubble popping, but with us being consistent and also having guys that, went to Wharton or have done things at high levels, it adds to our legitimacy.
Yeah, so this is obviously the first iteration of what you're doing. Like, what's the grand vision? I mean, none of us can predict what'll happen in crypto in 5 years or 10 years.
You want to go on your diatribe? You
But
want to go on your diatribe?
Craziest,
What is crypto? What's the world look
What is
like?
crypto? Yeah, he loves when I get in this. To put a long story short,
You can make it
He's
long.
preaching. He's preaching. He's giving his sermon.
I
He
was
said,
just preaching to the
listen.
team before we got on the podcast, and they told me to shut up, so I'm not going to preach.
I won't tell you to.
No, I mean, for me, I think everything is going to be a chip on the table. I think what blockchain can do in terms of security and transparency can kind of liquefy the world in a sense. So I think at some point in time, I'll be able to trade social tokens for watch NFTs, for Bored Apes, for houses, for cars, for all that stuff, and there'll probably be some level of Oracle system. A couple layer ones will probably rise to the top and be the cream of the crop, maybe like 3 or so, and the financial infrastructure will change, and how we view value will change, and we'll go back to a more traditional like barter system. Whereas now, like, we're relying on fiat currencies, and obviously we've seen the destabilization of those, the inflation in those. I think that value is going to come back down to supply and demand. Like you said, lint won't have value. A one-of-one watch probably will. You know what I mean? And if I have an NFT or whatever tied to that watch, and obviously it's securely stored in a vault or whatever, and I'm able to move that NFT around, I can trade it for a house deed, and when they burn that NFT or whatever it is, then that watch is shipped to them, et cetera, et cetera. And I just think that the world is going to kind of go back to a more traditional kind of barter system based around security and transparency of blockchain. and we'll see what one world store of value ends up reigning supreme, whether it's something that they create soon or whether it's Bitcoin. So.
Could ask him who's going to win the NBA Finals. He would much rather talk about that.
That's for sure.
All the time.
NBA Finals, we'll see.
In terms,
we'll be watching tonight.
I'm bringing that
in
up.
terms
I'll
of
watch.
There you go.
in terms of Calaxy and stuff like that, and taking that, because these big visionary, big picture kind of guy, large dreams. I think we want to be the standard for personal monetization, right? Like, we want to be the Fidelity, the Vanguard. We want to be the spot where a content creator has all the freedom in the world to monetize their communities and connect with their communities in ways they previously haven't. And I think the world that we currently live in is so painstakingly centralized to the point where it actually impacts people's ability to do this or become content creators in the first place. And so I think enabling them with the tools to do so, initially, we created this use case or this sort of, Web3 version of these Cameo, Patreon, these creator-centric platforms. Ultimately the vision of that is, that's just one use case. Like, that was what we saw to be a big opportunity within the influencer and, creator economy space, which is social media and interactions, to use social tokens. But in the future, there could be tons of other use cases that could be, built and, eventually other things that we could find or ideas for the way this technology could be impactful.
So the grand vision is you tokenize everything. I mean, that's really right.
Give people, the creators, the ability to do so.
But not just things, right? And when you say everything, I literally mean like talent, right? So when we talk about the social tokens, the building of communities, like it revolves around that, whatever makes that person unique and special. And I think that those same utility tokens, those same talent-based tokens will be able to be traded for something like a house at some point in time.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, why not?
There you
It
go.
was a contract. Why is it not music artists' royalties?
Well, all that's relevant in any transaction is what's of value to the person who's transacting.
Barter system.
Like, why does it? If I see
yeah.
the value in what you're offering, and you want my house, and maybe I just don't care about my house so much. I don't know how I'm trading my house.
But in general though, like you said, that's why I say old school bartering system, right? Because if I had 15 goats, right, and you had, I don't know, 3 buckets of water, but I'm starving. I mean, not starving, but dehydrated. I'm thirsty. Well, I might give you a goat for a bucket of water. You know what I'm saying? And there we go. And because you wanted a goat and I wanted the water, I'm cool with that. It's not on the government to say, nah, that goat's $100, but that water is only $2. Like, so you can't do that, bro. If he don't give me the water, I'm gonna die. Get the goat. You can have the goat. Save me. You know what I mean?
This goat tastes terrible. Tried it. That makes perfect sense. Listen, I agree with that vision. I see that sort of as a parallel rail to the existing system, right? Yeah. I don't think we ever personally go to a full barter system. I think the government, but there's no reason that should not exist for the people who want it.
For sure.
And everyone seems to forget that the whole ethos of crypto in the first place was that, I don't know, 2 billion people in the world don't even have bank accounts.
Exactly.
and can't transact at all.
Exactly.
Right? So isn't that the complete point of all of this, is to give financial access to people that don't have it?
Yeah.
And now you're able to actually monetize the talent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when you think about it, there's two, obviously for us, pertinently, we're focused on the entertainment industry, but obviously as being Web3 individuals ourselves, like, the visions are somewhat aligned. It's about empowerment of one's platform and not being, at the whim of anybody or of any centralized entity or anybody else as well. So like when you think about, 2 billion people don't have access to a bank account, that's true. And like you asked me earlier on, like, how did I take this dive into that? So like, I have a West African background. Like, I can understand that. Like, the banking system in the US is not reflective of the world. So like, the premise and the promise of blockchain was way more clear to me than it might have been to some of my peers on Wall Street at the time. Right? Like, you can go to a place in, other parts of the world where you don't have a bank 20 miles around from you. So you literally don't use the banking system anyway. So like, all you need is a phone and access and empowerment.
You guys used a term in passing that I've never heard, and I want an explanation. Web 2.5.
We actually just started talking about that not too long ago. But if you want to,
I would love to hear what that means to you.
We'll license it to you.
Okay, I'll license it. I'll put it on jerseys.
I mean, when you think about Web 2.5, I think it's the idea that blockchain Web 3 is not accessible to the majority of people out there. And the best technologies that we've ever come upon in humanity are ones that were easy to use and created a convenience factor that previously wasn't afforded to
The
them.
user experience is awful.
Exactly. The user
Crypto
experience.
user experience is terrible. That's come up
terrible.
in half the podcasts I record.
And that's why that's going to be a huge deterrent to people who don't want to learn new things, because people are resistant to change, right? There actually was a point in time when people, when they needed a car, like when you leave here, you're calling an Uber, right?
Yeah.
There was a time that you would stand out there and hope a taxi drove by, or you called one directly to come and get you, right? But then somebody had the crazy idea of like, let me create an application where I can call a complete stranger to get in their car and go where I'm going. And it was met with a ton of resistance at the beginning.
And because when the first iteration of that, people didn't have iPhones.
They didn't have
It
iPhones.
failed.
Yeah.
So that, like, it's another moral of that is that there's great ideas that have been way too early because the technology didn't exist.
Exactly. And so when you think about Web3, it's just amazing, unbelievable technology that hasn't been tapped into yet. And so when we think about us as a consumer-facing product, like we're talking about influencers, celebrities, people that are going to monetize their communities, we don't want them to have to think too much about us, right? We don't want them to think about this any differently than any other platform that they might use. And so the user experience is super key and important. And so you got to meet the people where they're at.
Yeah.
So like Web3 right now, it talks about get a MetaMask, like all this.
You've already lost everyone right
You already
there.
lost people, right? Coming into it. But when you have something where you create a user experience that sits in between 2 and 3, has enough of an infrastructure, and obviously the Web3 ethos is no control, no structure, nothing like that, everyone for themselves, that's not going to fit with the people that are accustomed to a centralized world. And they don't know that centralization means bad. People in Web3, may think so, may not, whatever, but most people in the everyday world are comfortable with centralization because they feel comfortable having somebody at the bank ensure their money's there, like self-custody and all these types of things. So it's like, as builders early on in the space, we want to be additive, and we want to be leaders in creating those initial standards that help service larger portions of people that previously might not be involved in the technology.
Do you guys start by recruiting huge influencers that sort of to get the initial hype going or to get an initial user base, or is this something that anyone can sign up for anytime and attempt to monetize their talent or perhaps lack thereof?
I mean, in terms of the app, like our vision long term is for anybody to be able to monetize themselves, right? But it would be wrong of us, right, not to reach out to our network and tap into the influencers, because like he played D1 football, I obviously play in the NBA, so our network's pretty vast when it comes to those things. So those are the people we targeted for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think about it, the term creator will expand and continue to grow and be all-encompassing, and we can all be creators. I think when you think about those, builders need to really have a defined vision on what they set out to be. I think the beauty of what we've built, and I guess like our partnership has been great, is that we know exactly what we are and what we want to be. And I think a lot of times in the problem with Web3, there aren't that many focused projects, because then you can turn into, you can go down the, you can go down the rabbit hole about what about this, and this, and why is it arbitrary, and you can do that type of stuff, whereas like we kind of know that the market we're trying to serve is that top 10% of somebody with their influence, their fans and their following, right? And that we're a premium product for that. So we're not trying to be Facebook. We're not trying to be Instagram.
Don't try to be Facebook.
We're not trying to be any of those. We know exactly what we're trying to be, and we want to be that sort of level 2 application that's for a deep knit community.
And then for the end user, we want them to feel like it is familiar, like those apps. Though.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, UX UI is that's a topic for another day, but that's the biggest problem that crypto has. 100%. Well, man, I can't wait to use it and check it out. I appreciate everything you guys are doing and for you taking the time. So thank you, man.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, boss. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you haven't already left a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please do that now. Spotify just added ratings, so please go ahead and click that 5-star. I'll see you guys next time.